Hello and welcome to the MBOM podcast, where you'll learn to master the business of yoga. MBOM is a proud part of the Wander Barn Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Amanda Kingsmith. I'm a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, a yoga business coach, and a total business geek. Here at MBOM, you'll learn everything you need to know to create a sustainable yoga business by learning from myself and guests from around the world about how they built their yoga businesses, and about how you too can become a successful yoga teacher, studio owner, and much more. All right, let's dive in. Hey friends, I just wanted to pop in and talk a little bit about MBO behind the scenes. When I entered the yoga world as a teacher, I was surprised by how many yoga teachers were struggling with the business side of yoga. And that's why I created MBOM. MBOM helps yoga teachers and studio owners become entrepreneurs. It helps you to go from surviving to thriving with your yoga business. I am on a mission to change the yoga industry, to teach yoga teachers and studio owners about the business of yoga, and to help you feel more confident, successful, and abundant. After releasing hundreds of podcast episodes, I want to create content that dives deeper into helping yoga entrepreneurs thrive and elevate their businesses. This is where MBO Behind the Scenes comes in. Each week, you will get bonus content from the weekly guest or myself, diving deeper into how you can take the teachings and apply them to your business. This podcast is designed for yoga teachers and studio owners who are ready to take it to the next level. If you enjoy MBOM and have been looking for an affordable way to learn more, this is it. For the cost of 2 lattes per month, you will get never-before-heard content that you can't access anywhere else that will give you tangible ways to dive deeper into your yoga business. If this sounds like something you're interested in, let's dive in. Head on over to patreon.com/MBOM yoga and sign up to get behind the scenes now. Once again, that's patreon.com/MBOM yoga to get all the exclusive behind the scenes content. I'll see you there. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the MBOM podcast. I am so excited that you've decided to join me for today's episode of the show. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Offering Tree. You guys have heard about Offering Tree a number of times, and I hope you go and check it out because Offering Tree really is the one-stop shop for all things website, email marketing, scheduling, booking, and more. And you're going to hear more about them and what they offer a little bit later on in the episode, so stay tuned for that. Plus, there's a promo code to get a discount. Today on the podcast, I am very excited to be joined by Kamini Natarajan. Kamini is a musician, and specifically, she specializes in Kirtan. And I was really excited to get connected with Kamini because I've never had somebody on the podcast who specializes in this niche. And Kamini is particularly interesting because she learned this practice in central India from her mother, Natarajan. And she has been able to bring this practice over to North America, where she currently resides with her family. And so on this episode, we dive into a lot of different things. We talk about her yoga story, how she got interested in Kirtan, why she decided to focus that as her niche. And then we talked a little bit about what it's like to niche down with Kirtan. We talked a little bit about cultural appropriation and if it's okay for just anyone who is trained or practicing Kirtan to start teaching it. We also talked about the business of Kirtan and the importance of having digital goods, digital offerings, because outside of her work doing Kirtan, Kamini is actually a digital marketing specialist. She works full-time doing that, so she's got lots of tips for growing a Kirtan email list, having a product, and so much more. So I hope that you enjoy this episode of the podcast, and without further ado, here is Kamini. Welcome to the podcast today, Kamini. I'm really excited to have you here with me today.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's my pleasure.
And where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from Simi Valley, California.
Oh, amazing. I'm sure you're having great weather right now.
Yeah, it is hot, as in, I would say closer to 100 degrees, but yeah, it's okay.
Wow, that's very warm. For the Canadian in me, that's very warm.
It is.
Amazing. Well, I'm super excited for this conversation. I'm super grateful that you're here with me today. And I'm really excited to dive into Kirtan. I don't know a ton about the business side of Kirtan. So you're definitely going to be
Uh-huh.
teaching me a lot. But before we dive into that, let's start with your yoga story. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to start practicing yoga?
Sure. So I started as a kid, to be honest, and at that time I did not know what I was getting into. But I studied and practiced yoga for several years growing up in India. But then, growing up, my focus shifted on pranayam and the breath work as well as nada yoga because I come from a family of musicians. So that is what really, inspired me. When I came to the US and settled down here, I realized that while there were several yoga studios for asana practice of yoga, most teachers as well as participants focused on the physical, right? The asana, the workout, or the stretch aspect of yoga. Without much, I would say, awareness about all the 8 limbs of yoga. So then, that is when I started focusing more on nada yoga and how the sound and frequency can transform our minds and help us with actually 4 out of the 8 limbs of yoga, help us with dhyana, dharana, samadhi, as well as pranayam. So that is basically what inspired me to take up nada yoga and to start teaching, sharing it. Kirtan being, of course, one of the main parts of Nada Yoga.
Okay, that's really interesting. I'm not super familiar with Nada yoga. So how does the kind of like the certification go with that?
So Nada Yoga, I am not sure of the certification here in the US for that, but it is basically a practice where we look into and focus into both the vibrations, the study of sound, and how it connects deeply with our minds. So it is an ancient practice that basically, helps with the frequency and the sound of it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I don't know a ton about sound healing, but every time I learn a little bit about it and every time I practice anything having to do with sound, I just feel so good after. Do you know much about kind of the science around sound healing?
Yeah, so there has been actually a lot of work, a lot of research work done with sound, with Nada yoga in particular, and healing. Back in India, I know that there is this entire music therapy that kind of, researches and actually even practices some of this. And it is, like not just an alternative medicine, but it is also used as a part of main medicine, as far as I can say. So there has been a lot of research and scientific beliefs and experiments around this. There are certain combination of frequencies, and I'm getting more into the music part of it. So pardon me for that. So when we talk about, Nada yoga, there are certain select, I would say, systematic frequencies of note that have been proved to like even lower blood pressures and things like that. So it's a very very interesting, I would say, array of studies.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. I want to learn more about that after we hop off this call.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I'm really curious to know though, as you started learning about this, what kind of intrigued you about Kirtan specifically?
Yeah, so kirtan is, of course, it's a call and response style of singing, right? And when we say nada yoga, it kind of sounds too technical. But when we say kirtan, it kind of brings that joy element to it, although both of them are kind of, well, really, really interconnected. For me, personally, I got introduced to kirtans as a child. My maternal grandmother was a devotional kirtan and bhajan singer. She used to take me along with her to several kirtan gatherings. My mom is also a bhajan kirtan singer composer. She has composed over like 80 kirtans. So I was kind of, I was basically born into this kirtan family. I grew up with it. So, and then when I actually took my studies further, that is where I was able to find that connection between kirtan and nada yoga, and then that with the yoga basically.
Wow, that's really inspiring to hear. And I love that you came from a family of musicians and you've pursued that also. I'm curious to know kind of what your journey was like building a business in the US with a focus in Kirtan.
That's an interesting one. Okay, so I picked Kirtan because to me it was not just an art form, right? It was not just music. It is much more than that, and I can take a simple mantra, sing it in a simple or a complex way, and it can be treated as I want it to, as I want to treat it, and there are no rigid rules around it. Since I come from a very deep Indian classical music background, my kirtans are traditional. They are set to ragas from Indian classical music system. However, singers, musicians in the West, they all give kirtan their own flavor. From, I would say, like anywhere from reggae to jazz to rock, musicians have added their own flavor to kirtan. So to me, kirtan is very global. To me, it is very unifying. It is, one type of music that connects, that, makes the audience kind of connect with you, to sing with you. So that was, not, I would say, not my focus wasn't that much on the business part of it when I decided on kirtan as my focus, but it was more because of the connection that I felt with kirtan singing.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And then I don't know like really anything about like the market, I guess, for kirtan, especially in the US. But I'm curious, like, what does it kind of look like to be a kirtan teacher? Like, do you offer classes at studios or what's kind of the landscape of that?
Okay. Yeah. So the business part of it. So Kirtan, it's very interesting, is what I can say here, because it has elements of new age. And if I were to categorize it within, the Western music genres of music, I would put it either into new age. It could be called world music. It could be called a fusion music. Coming to the business part of it, you can of course be a Kirtan singer, leader. You can sing and perform at a lot of these music festivals, yoga and kirtan festivals. You can conduct classes, which is also what I do. For me, I also have a totally different digital marketing background. So I create a lot of digital downloadable goods for that. And yeah, all of that kind of brings in, well, revenue is what I can say from business point of view. You also get hired by other yoga teachers who do not have their own kirtan practice. A lot of yoga studios hire you. Of course, there is also a market for kirtan music, right? A lot of kirtan singers, they create albums. You can, like sell the CD itself. You can sell a downloadable card. So that is that part of it. Then there are also a lot of temples around, at least around where I live, where I get, like they call me to come and perform kirtans, especially during festival times and all of those, festive periods of times. So yeah, so like any other music, of course, it's not a mainstream music yet, but there are several avenues.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting to hear. And I'd be curious to know for somebody listening, if they're like, this sounds really awesome, I would love to delve a little bit deeper into kirtan. Where do you start? Like, do you start by taking a training in kirtan? Do you find somebody like yourself to mentor you? Like, where does it kind of start in terms of that?
Yeah, so I think for most yoga teachers, practitioners, it starts when they start, their yoga practice. For a lot of them, it just starts out with chanting an om, right? And maybe they take up a few classes where they learn a few of these chants. Some people like to go deep into just the language, Sanskrit, right? And they like to kind of learn the language. They kind of try to learn each word of a chant or a mantra. They go that route. A lot of other people who have kind of, some music background, they prefer to just, like maybe pick up their guitar or whatever instrument, maybe a keyboard feels nice to them. They pick that up and then they start like creating simple, I would say, really simple melodies. A lot of them, actually, I teach a lot of these yoga teachers myself. So where I start is to like take a very, very easy mantra, like let's say Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. A lot of yoga teachers know this mantra because they chant this as a part of their yoga exercise. Then what we do is like maybe create a very, very easy to follow melody around it so that they feel comfortable singing. And for a lot of these yoga teachers, just singing in front of people, it may not appear there would be that awkwardness, right, around just opening up your voice and singing. So basically start slow is what I would say. You learn a few chants, like really focus on them, and don't think that much about it from musicianship point of view. Think of it as something that you are offering along with your yoga practice, and then like follow that route. You can go like really deep into Sanskrit learning and like really learn all the meanings of chants. You can learn several mantras. You can also take up music lessons and like do a little bit of that.
Yeah, I love all of that. It's interesting to hear you talk about this because I did like very, very basic chanting and kirtan in both my 200-hour and my 300-hour yoga teacher training. And it was amazing to participate in and so great to learn. I definitely struggled with the pronunciation of the words a little bit because it's very much like you're learning a language while also learning like a tune with it, which was quite challenging for me. But it's such a beautiful thing to add into your offerings as a teacher if you're comfortable and to start sharing with your students.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is. It can feel a bit awkward because we grow up kind of with our accents. It's really hard to pronounce words of a different language, right? And then the words that do not have a similar sound, I would say, in English, right? For example, even if we look at Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, right? There is no bha sound as such in English. There is no tu sound as such. Those little things, those make it hard. But I would say, I would recommend like follow to the best possible way because that is pretty much what we can do, right? And then take it easy. Know that you are learning a new language and you are trying to, pronounce a language that is totally foreign to you. So like be easy on yourself and take the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that piece of advice. So thank you for that. Hey everyone, it's time for a short break and a message from our sponsor, Offering Tree. Most yoga teachers struggle with two things, marketing and time management. It can feel overwhelming and scary to try and put yourself out there to get new clients. There's also never enough time to get everything done, like sending a newsletter, emailing your new clients, or updating your website. Fortunately, Offering Tree created a single platform that can solve all your marketing and time management headaches. With a single account, you can create a website in minutes, set up a newsletter, create a blog, schedule classes, and take payment. The great part is that all of Offering Tree's features work seamlessly together, so you don't need to pay for and manage 5 different services. Instead, you get it all in one easy, affordable package. Offering Tree also provides helpful tutorials and webinars to keep you growing as a teacher. It's part of their mission as a public benefit corporation. Offering Tree has been supporting MBOM for well over a year now, and I love their product and their company. They're providing special pricing for MBOM listeners, so if you're ready to move from overwhelm to confidence with your digital presence, then check them out at offeringtree.com/MBOM. Again, that's offeringtree.com/MBOM. All right, now back to the episode. And something I'm curious about with regards to Kirtan and the Kirtan music is I know it's very traditional and it's ancient teachings. When it comes to the music, is it important that people who are playing the music are very much keeping the music traditional, like in terms of the words that are used and like the tune and the beat and the instruments?
I wouldn't say so, actually. And when I hear a lot of kirtans and all these kirtan festivals, at least around in the West, each person, each musician, what they have done is they have taken their own music, the music that they grew up with, and then kind of, converted that into kirtans, is what I see. And for kirtans, to me, yeah, I sing traditional kirtans because I grew up with that. But for the kirtan music that we hear here, there are no set rules. It can be anything. It can be even language wise. I have actually also heard a lot of kirtan singers combine English as well as the Sanskrit chants and, come up with their own thing, which is beautiful.
Okay, that's good to know. And so from the perspective of, somebody who has an Indian background, do you feel like we're kind of delving into the realm of cultural appropriation with kirtan or what are kind of your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so because, Kirtan itself is really open. So if somebody claims that they are singing traditional Indian classical music and then adding, like elements of jazz to it, then that is where I would, think of it as a problem. But with Kirtan, there are no set rules, basically. As long as you are singing the divine names, that is basically what matters. To me, it doesn't feel like cultural appropriation at all because even within India, if we look at it, different states, different regions, they all sing in their own language, their own way, their own, music. So it's different even within that one country. So expecting it to just remain that traditional Indian in the West is, I don't think it's really appropriate to say that and like keep it that rigid.
Right. Okay. Cool. Thanks for touching on that. And then kind of similar to that, if somebody is like learning a song that's traditional and then they're shifting it a little bit, do you feel like it's important to just kind of honor like the traditional roots of where that came from or how can we go about that in a way that's kind of, acknowledging that like this isn't my own I've shifted it a little bit. Is it just a matter of saying like I've put my own sort of like creative spin on it as a musician or how do we go about doing that?
Yeah, I would say as long as you acknowledge that you are taking something from somebody, from a tradition, and then you are kind of, adding it, you are lending your own creativity to it. I think that is honoring the tradition, right? As long as you are not claiming that the entire work is yours, I think that is fine, right? I mean, because as even within those traditional realms of music, when I say that I sing traditional kirtans, as when I actually sing, I am changing it, right? I mean, I am adding my own touch to it, I'm adding my own flavor to it, but it's still honoring the tradition. It's still like you don't do a half baked job of learning something and, like not even probably I would say like trying to learn the entire thing and then just ruining it. That is different. But if you are taking something out of respect, you are being respectful to the tradition but then making changes, uh, yeah, that's good, I would say.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for answering that question. I really appreciate that. That's something I've been trying to bring a lot of awareness to in my own teaching and the ways that I'm passing on the things that I'm learning. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your insight on that. And so I'm curious, something you said early on is that you have, the digital marketing side of things and the digital goods side of things. So I'm kind of curious if you can talk about how that plays into the business side of Kirtan.
Okay. Yeah. So my day job, I work as a digital marketing person. So, digital goods to me for any kind of business, especially music, it's really, really important these days. If we aren't creating digital goods, we are kind of losing out on the business, on the revenue aspect of it. But alongside that, digital goods are also wonderful marketing medium, right? Especially for musicians. We need digital goods for growing our fan base, for even not just growing, but maintaining a fan base. And For me, I like to think of my digital goods as a virtual me. Right, I cannot be everywhere, but my digital goods can be. For example, I cannot go teach somebody in Germany about Kirtan, but say if I write an ebook, it can. Right, so it's incredibly important, I would say, to have digital goods. Email lists, that's another really, really important thing for Kirtan people to have. And Kirtan musicians can create like various different types of digital goods. We can create, of course, albums, we can create DVDs, we can write ebooks, we can write tutorial videos, we can, like do several of these things.
Okay, amazing. And so can you dive into, some of the digital goods that you've created just to give people kind of a feel for the different things that are sort of available to build your business in this way?
Sure. So I have written an ebook on kirtans. I am actually also in the process of writing another one. The first one that I wrote is basically called Indian Ragas for Kirtans. So ebook is one because it's nice, right? Because people can also like click on the links, they can hear the audio, they get PDF of notations and all of that. So it's good both ways. That is one. Second is we can create an entire uh, uh, webinar or a music lesson kind of a content marketing thing. We can do it through like teachable.com. We can do it through various other, these online teaching platforms. CDs, music albums, they are a big one. Of course, CD is a physical product, but we can get downloadable cards. We can do that. What else? We can, of course, teach. Teach digitally through Zoom and through Skype. We can also do webinars. Right now, all the Kirtan festivals are online as well. So, that is another channel for growing your digital presence.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious what a digital Kirtan festival looks like.
Oh, we just had one actually. So Bhakti Fest, if you are aware, so they had their Bhakti Fest reunion this past weekend, and I performed there along with, of course, several different other kirtan musicians. It was really nice because they did it through this company called Showrunner.inc or something, and it had like different channels where you could either listen to kirtans or you could go to a yoga space, or you could do a workshop with sound healing and all of that. And it was pretty nice. It was almost I would say as fun as the real one.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. I love how creative people have gotten throughout this whole pandemic in terms of being able to offer, obviously
Yeah,
very different variations of what they used to do, but taking them online and making them, these kind of fun community events.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And so it seems like there's lots of different options for building your audience and building your business online. And so one of the things that I talk a lot about with the business of yoga is this idea of building an email list so that people who come, can sign up for something for free. They're on your email list. And then as you nurture them, they're more likely to purchase something from you, like a digital CD or a training or something like that. Is that something that's relevant too within the business of Kirtan?
Oh, totally. And coming from my digital marketing background as well as from Kirtan background, I would say that email marketing is my favorite of all digital marketing channels, because I know that, for most and all actually e-commerce businesses, we get the max return on our investment through email marketing. People do tend to think that no one opens their emails, or that, emails just land in spam, but they have no idea that email marketing actually provides, on an average, 350% return on investment. And that is just an average. If you actually do a good job at it, you get a lot more out of it. For email marketing, for Kirtan, I would say, like, have a sign up form, right? I mean, if you don't even have that, like, start there, right? Have a sign up form on your website and offer something in return. So offer a track or offer something else useful. For Kirtans, you could maybe even have a PDF with the chants that, maybe like the top 10 chants, right? With their meaning, with their translation, maybe a pronunciation guide. So offer something of value in return for a sign up is what I would advise. Then also, one other tip is to include your sign up form link to your usual emails that you send out to people. So for example, I send a lot of even my personal, my professional emails through my Gmail account. You can add that email sign up page as a link to your signature. You can say that, oh, for a free blissful music track, click here. And then when they click that, it takes them to that subscribe page where they, enter your email. Have a link to your website on all social media platforms, right? Then you can also partner with other like-minded businesses, yoga teachers, and you can kind of cross-promote one another. That's a fantastic tool. Other idea is to have a giveaway, right? Giveaways are fantastic. You can maybe, talk to a Kirtan festival. You can talk to a big event, and you can maybe ask them permission to raffle a ticket. You can buy one ticket, or maybe you can buy 5 and you raffle that out. You can do ads for that raffle on social media, and you can easily get around, like 3 to 4,000 emails built that way.
Yeah, wow. Those are so many great tips. So thank you so much for sharing those. And I hope that gives listeners lots of different ideas. I mean, so much of that just applies to any yoga business in general.
Exactly. Yeah. And I am really big on first two things, the last two things that I spoke about, like partnering with other yoga teachers, businesses. When we talk about yoga, you can talk to even those yoga apparel businesses. They have sponsorships, right? You can talk to vegan, maybe healthy brands, right? Even food brands that kind of have that same yoga audience, right? You can talk to skincare brands. A lot of these vegan, natural, healthy skincare brands might be willing to work with a yoga teacher, a yoga practitioner. So, think creatively, I would say, and approach these businesses and maybe cross promote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm in general a big fan of collaboration over competition amongst yoga teachers and yoga business, I guess, like owners and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool that you're talking about that on the set of Kirtan as well.
Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about the email newsletter. Are there any other, or the email list, sorry, and how to grow that? Are there any other kind of top business tips that you would recommend for somebody who's looking to specialize in Kirtan?
Yeah. So when it comes to the business aspect of it, whether it is Kirtan, whether it is yoga, and I know that, these all talk to the spiritual aspect of people, but still, when we look at it from a business point of view, there are several things that I have learned along the way. One of it being have a contract. Right? I mean, if you are
Mm-hmm.
going out, if you are doing any paid work, if you are collaborating with others, it's always good to have what you have in your mind written down, right? And signed by both the parties. keep it safe, have a contract. Invest is another one of these things. And I know that this doesn't just apply to Kirtan, but, invest in it like it is a business, right? Free is not always best or cheap. So even a free website, free help, free webinars, those are all great. But, like get help, right? I mean, pay for it. You will get more quality there. Uh, Last but not the least, I would say ask for help, right? I mean, barter maybe with your other friends, with the community, see what your friends have to offer, collaborate. Again, coming back to your point of collaboration, right? Make it an collective effort, is what I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Those are all wonderful, wonderful business tips. I'm curious if there's any other kind of business lessons or just lessons in general that you want to share with listeners that you've learned throughout your career, both with Kirtan and also digital marketing.
So, with both of these, and this would sound, like kind of going back on what we were talking about, business and revenue point of view, but for my Kirtan as well as for my digital marketing, what helped me really get good assignments was the fact that I volunteered for free. Now, this I know, like some people are totally against it, and I get where they come from. But if you think of it as a marketing tool, right? Think of it as, so from digital marketing standpoint, there is always a cost per acquisition, right? We call it CPA. So there is that thing kind of always there for any kind of marketing, right? You cannot acquire a big audience. You cannot, like acquire a big project without investing anything. And I know that a lot of musicians, Kirtan musicians, they come from this mindset that, oh, I have already invested my time, my efforts, I have learned music, I have spent money learning and perfecting my art and or yoga. For a lot of digital marketing people, they say the same, that, oh, I have invested a lot of money, like going to college, going to university. So why should I do it for free, right? Is one of the questions that I generally get. But what I can say that, like even volunteering for maybe a charity that is really close to your heart, that kind of builds your portfolio, right? That also for coming to Kirtan side of it, it creates those valuable social media assets for you, because you can always do a photo shoot within your garage or within your living room. But if you have an actual audience, even if you went there and paid for free, at the end of the day, you have a good video, you get all these marketing materials from it, and that will take you longer, right? I mean, that will take you towards your business goals, is what I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. And I definitely feel like there's like a time and a place for, offering your services for free. And I think when you're first starting out and you're trying to get people to kind of understand what you do and interested in your offerings, doing something for free can be a really great way to kind of give people a taste of who you are and what you're all about, and also give them a taste for like your work ethic. Like
Exactly.
if you don't have a portfolio for yourself and you want somebody to kind of take a chance on you, I think that offering to do that thing for free can be a really great way to get yourself noticed. And yeah, I see this a lot in kind of, I guess, like the design world, or even, having podcasts, the podcast editing world. Like sometimes people will say like, oh, I'll edit, an episode for free so you can get a feel for, how I work before we work together. Or I'll give you like a little sampler taste of what I would design so you can get an idea for that. And I think that's a really great way to build trust with people. I think sometimes people get like very all or nothing in terms of the way they think about these concepts. So they think like, oh, if I offer yoga for free or I offer kirtan for free, then I always have to offer it for free. And it's certainly not like that. It's like, oh, you can offer to teach one class for free, or give, one concert for free, or one mini concert for free, but then charge for it after that.
Exactly. And a lot of my other digital marketing clients, they are in skincare and other e-commerce related businesses. And a lot of them use the same kind of tactics, right? We offer a foil pack for free. We offer a little deluxe sample or a travel kit for free. Why? Because, we then get back that customer, we build that trust, right? People who use our products, they know about us. For Kirtan, actually, it's even more important because, initially you are yourself not super confident, right? If you are just starting out singing something. So, doing these kind of, free-ish, I would say, Kirtan concerts, it helps you yourself build that confidence, right? You get really good in front of the audience. You start connecting with them, you get that really good feedback. For me, that is what basically happened, right? When I did something for free, it gave me the feedback. I was able to say which kirtans are working with people, which ones are too difficult for them. It actually it's a great way. It's kind of a free survey for you. It's kind of very very good feedback for you. So don't just don't come from it's okay to not, of course, like don't do hundreds of these for free, but when you're starting out, it's okay to do a few, I would say, for free. It helps you actually.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's always about thinking about that exchange, right? Like
Yeah,
you're giving something and getting something in return. And I think that especially when you are starting out, like the feedback you can get from people and the practice you can get is,
yeah,
sort of that form of exchange. Like
yeah,
I did a lot of this when I first started business coaching. I offered a lot of free consultation calls to people or free, little
yeah,
calls, like 15 or 30 minutes as opposed to an hour. And it was so
yeah,
good for me to
exactly.
get in front of a lot of people before I took
Mhm.
those away. And, that's definitely not something I regret doing in my business.
Yeah, same here. I do not regret that at all. I do not regret that doing for kirtans. I did a lot of free concerts, and even for my other digital marketing, it has actually, been the most, I would say, cost effective way to promote yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so I would be curious to know a little bit more about your business and what you do. Can you tell myself and listeners a little bit more about your specific Kirtan business?
Sure. So coming to Kirtan, of course, I have a website called KaminiMusic.com. I also have one other website, chanceformeditation.com. Both these places, of course, KaminiMusic.com is more, for my stuff, for my music. Uh, I offer lessons in Kirtans. I offer Sanskrit lessons. I have a few CDs, few digital downloads of those music albums available. I have an ebook available. So that is, kind of the business part of it. Coming to chantsformeditation.com, it's kind of a blog website. It has ads. Going back to that, business, it actually, just because of the domain name chanceformeditation.com, it attracts a lot of clicks. There are a lot of impressions. So that one is, I have ads on that. So that brings in some revenue. I have affiliate ads there. So that also, kind of is a part of my business. So yeah, all of this kind of, forms a nice digital, I would say, business for me, a
Yeah,
side
yeah.
business for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then what about your day job that you do with digital marketing? Can you tell me a little bit more
Yeah,
about that?
sure. Yes. So for my day job, I work for um, I work for a few companies actually, and I am the director of digital marketing for a skincare brand called Derma E. They are also located in Simi Valley. I manage a small team of digital marketers. I have an e-commerce manager in my team. I have a digital marketing manager in my team, Amazon consultant in my team. So it's nice. We are a really really nice green, I would say, brand. I love what I do there because it kind of you know it's like various things all combined into one. There is email marketing, there is Google PPC, there is retargeting. Yeah, it's a lot. There is, of course, affiliate marketing, influencers, and all of that rolled into one. So yeah, I love working my day job. I have a really nice team that works with me. Right now we are all online, but we are all virtually meeting and doing our calls and all of that online. But yeah, it's a really great bunch of people to work with.
Amazing. I love that you've got the blend of doing the more creative side with the Kirtan and then also having the digital marketing. It sounds like a really nice blend to me.
It is. And actually, the thing that is really what I like about it is that I can kind of, like switch on and off between the both. When I talk about digital marketing, I, of course, like everything comes down to return on investment. I talk revenue a lot. So that is there all the time. But then when it comes to music and kirtans, my focus changes to the music aspect of it, the creativity aspect of it. So I feel like it's a good balance to have. And having this digital marketing experience definitely helps me with my kirtan. And even like everything, basically growing the fan base, doing Facebook ads, or even doing Facebook posts, reaching out to people, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm sure you know so much from working in digital marketing that can apply to the world of Kirtan that helps you with everything,
Yeah,
posting on
yeah,
social media, writing emails, getting email subscribers, creating products, even that idea, I think is something that, maybe if you didn't have that background, might be something a little bit more foreign. So I think it's amazing that you've been able to blend the two.
yeah. No, yeah, I like that blend actually myself, and I enjoy doing both. It gives me pleasure. I really like to look at numbers and how much sales has been in a month, and looking at numbers during the day, and then coming back to music in the
hmm
evenings.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody who's really passionate about business, but then also passionate about, yoga and the spiritual side of that. I can
Yeah,
definitely relate to having these like two different interests and being able to blend them a little bit. But it's also nice to have this like kind of analytical,
yeah.
tangible side and then this creative side.
Yeah. And, like somewhere down the road, I almost also feel like they all connect. What you do with one kind of, translates into the other as well. A lot of digital marketing, when I apply it to Kirtan, it works pretty well. When I think about creativity in Kirtans and apply that creative thinking to digital marketing, that helps as well.
Ah, yeah, I love that. I always think about, how the business applies to the creative side, but I love the idea of like the creative side of Kirtan and the music applying to the digital marketing side.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. This conversation has been so awesome. I know we said the websites before, but just to remind people, where can they go to find you? Any links or places that you want them to go, you're welcome to mention.
Sure. So my website is kaminimusic.com. Kamini with a K, Kamini music.com. That is, I would say, 99% updated. uh, and then also there is another website called chantsformeditation.com. Of course, on Facebook and on all other social media platforms. If you look for Kamini Music, or if you look up my name, Kamini Natarajan, which is even more difficult to type, you will find me. It's not a very it's not a too common name, right, in this country. So yeah, it's pretty easy to spot me on social media.
Amazing. Well, we'll make sure that there's links for all of that in the show notes. Kamini, thank you so much for your time today. I have loved this conversation and you've taught me so much about Kirtan.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. It was such a pleasure to talk to you because, sometimes you don't get to like verbally, right, say these things out or think these things through, right? Especially when it comes to Kirtan and music. When it comes to digital marketing, of course, I talk a lot, but when it comes to Kirtan, when it comes to that spirituality, when it even comes to Nada Yoga, those are the topics that are there in the back of my head, but don't get processed into verbal, speech. So it was great for me to do that. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of the podcast. To find links, notes, resources, and everything mentioned in today and all episodes of the show, you can head on over to mbomyoga.com. You can find the podcast and myself on Facebook and social media at Mastering the Business of Yoga. And I would love for you to join the private Facebook community, Yoga Business Badass.